Do you love the high-end, timeless style of McGee Co, but not the high price tags? Today, I've got you covered with the mega marathon of my favorite DIYs, showing you how to recreate stunning McGee Co inspired home decor on a budget. From elegant vases to designer inspired decor, these budget friendly DIYs will help you achieve that luxurious high end look for way less. Stick around for tons of inspiration to elevate your home without breaking the bank. Let's jump in. DIYs with the wicker tray that I picked up thrifting just this past weekend for only $3. Honestly, it was one of those finds where you know it has potential even though the color isn't quite right. I love the design and style, but I just couldn't see it fitting into my home without a little update. As I was brainstorming ideas, I came across a similar tray online at McGee Co. priced at $39. I loved the color they used, but knew it would be a challenge to recreate. While searching for more inspiration, I found some baskets on the same website with the shade that I absolutely loved, so I went for that instead. To achieve the look, I used creamy acrylic paint mixed with a touch of brown and a bit of water. I applied it using a wet paper towel, which allowed me to create soft blended strokes. For the details and crevices, I used a sponge brush to make sure everything was covered evenly. I repeated the same process on the back and I just love how it turned out. Right now, it's styled in my living room and it adds such a cozy, natural touch to the space. For $3, you really can't go wrong. So excited to recreate this for a while now. I've been searching for vintage salt and pepper mills, but I couldn't find any in secondhand stores, thrift shops, or even antique stores. Online, they're quite pricey. On Amazon, they're over $200. So when I came across two of these at thrift store for just $5.99 for both, I knew I had to give them a makeover to achieve the vintage inspired look I wanted. I took inspiration from a tray I recently purchased, which had this beautiful aged gold finish, and I decided to recreate that look on the mills. I started by spray painting them fully in metallic gold for a base. After that dried, I began layering on different shades of gold, soft gold, yellow gold, and a touch of black, using a craft sponge and a brush. However, I quickly realized that the surface was too slippery and the paint wasn't blending the way I wanted it. I switched to using a paper towel and it worked perfectly. The texture of the paper towel allowed me to dab and blend the colors seamlessly, creating a more natural vintage look. To ensure the finish wouldn't rub off, you can seal everything with the matte Mod Podge layer. This will also give the surface better grip for blending the paint. The Final result, these salt and pepper mills turned out beautiful and match my kitchen decor exactly how I envisioned it. I'm starting off today's DIYs with a dupe inspired by McGee Co, the mango wood pedestal. Now, I don't have mango wood on hand, but I had a piece of pine that I knew I could work with to achieve a similar look. So I headed to the garage and cut it to size. My main board is about 6 inches wide and I cut two sets of feet, 2 feet that are about 1 inch wide. You can customize the size depending on where you plan to use it, whether in a kitchen, bathroom, or even as a decorative stand. Once all my pieces were cut, I gave everything a good sanding. I used the sanding disc I had on hand, but honestly, I can't remember the grit because it's almost worn out. Typically, I use 220 grit, but since pine is a soft wood, you can get away with a slightly different grit as long as it smooths the edges and adds a little distressing. While I'm sanding, I want to take a moment to talk about today's sponsors of this portion of the video, and that would be Temu. If you're not familiar, Temu is an online marketplace with amazing deals on everything from home decor to crafting supplies. I found some of the best high-end decor dupes there, and if you want to see everything I picked up, be sure to check out my home channel. I will link it down below. I will also link down below all the products. In the description box of this video, I will link all the products that I had gotten in that haul in case you wanted to get something yourself. Now, if you're new to the Temu app, you can claim $100 in bundle coupons and enjoy up to 90% off select items from my haul. Again, they will be linked in the description box. And how to participate, you need to download your Temu app and enter my exclusive discount code, which is linked down below. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoy shopping with Temu. I certainly do enjoy it very much. Now back to DIY. After sanding, I wanted to give my piece a little more character. So I took a drill attachment, a screwdriver works well too, and added small dents and scratches for a more rustic look. Once that was done, I assembled the pieces using wood glue to attach the feet. I did this obviously inside. I also added the hot glue for an instant hold so I could keep working without waiting for the wood glue to dry overnight. For the finish, I used weathered oak stain and applied it with a rag, making sure to follow the wood grain. And that's it. Such an easy DIY with huge savings. I love how it turned out in my kitchen, but as I said, you could also use it in a bathroom, entryway, or any way you need a stylish pedestal. Now on to another budget-friendly DIY. I picked up a picture frame from Dollar Tree, only $1.50 here in Canada, for this next project. Unfortunately, I started working on it and realized my camera wasn't recording, so I'll walk you through what I've done so far. This is a coastal style picture frame dupe inspired by McGee Co. The original frame has a thicker border wrapped in a nautical style rope. I had two different ropes to choose from, and I decided to go with jute rope because it gave me the closest match. I pre-cut pieces of rope and started gluing them down, following the same pattern as the inspiration piece. Initially, I planned to wrap a second layer of rope, but I quickly realized that doing so would prevent the backing from fitting back into the frame. So instead, I cut slightly longer pieces of rope, glued them down, and then trimmed off the excess once the glue dried. This method gave me some wiggle room and made the process a little bit easier. Cutting the rope was tougher than I expected. My larger scissors weren't sharp enough, so I switched to my smaller, sharper ones, and in the end, I cut each rope piece individually for more precision. This frame turned out so cute. It's perfect for displaying beach photos, coastal artwork, or even a vintage print. I didn't have 5x7 or 4x6 beach photos on hand, but you could easily print one out or add a painting for a stylish coastal vibe. Now for my favorite DIY of the day, a thrifted vase transformation. My friend was out thrifting and sent me a picture of this huge vase for only $17.99. Of course, I had to have it. I loved the shape and texture, but the color wasn't quite right. I debated different finishes, textured, concrete look, or even baking soda paint, but after searching for inspiration, I noticed black vases from McGee Co, Crate and Barrel, and Pottery Barn came popping up. So that's what I went with. I used Rust-Oleum chalk paint in charcoal, which isn't a true black but more of a deep graphite gray. It took 2 coats for full coverage. Because the vase was glossy, I recommend using a primer beforehand or lightly sanding the surface for better adhesion. I didn't do this and it made the next step a little tricky. Once the paint dry, I applied a whitewash technique to add depth. I thinned down some white acrylic paint with water, and I planned to brush it on and wipe it off. But when I wiped, the black paint started coming off too. This is where a primer would have helped. To fix this, I used a damp rag to damp the whitewash, to dab the whitewash on instead of rubbing it. This method worked perfectly and gave the vase the subtle high-end look. I highly recommend sealing it with a spray sealer so the paint doesn't rub off over time. I absolutely love how the piece turned out. I have a few black vases in my collection, but this one is a new favorite. The inspiration for my first DIY came from McGee Co, and as you can see, their print was $42, and it is a bit of a different look inside. It's more like the picture says, storm on the lake. Mine is more in the field, but the inspiration was there, and I have found a free printable, which I will link it down below. You just have to sign up for an email for it to be sent to you. I will link the website down below, and she has tons of different prints to choose from. But the McGee Co was my inspiration. So I've printed it off, and then I took some Mod Podge and I had painted the picture with the Mod Podge to give it that oil look. As you may know, I'm not the first one to do this, but it is my first time trying to do it. I think I've done it before on gift bags from dollar store when I was adding them to signs and things like that, and this was definitely my first time doing it on a picture that I have printed. I have a laser printer. It is not the greatest printer in the world, but I think the picture turned out really good. And the frame that I'm going to be using came from Dollar Tree. I would have loved to have found a vintage frame to use at maybe a thrift store, but I wasn't so lucky, so I just resorted to the frames that I had on hand. So my price for this was free, as I just printed a print and everything else I had on hand. And here is the frame that I am using, and I'm going to use spun gold paint to paint with it, as well as a brush and some Kleenex. You can find prints if you can print them. You can also find gift bags are a great source for sometimes great landscapes or any picture you might want to include in your decor. Greeting cards, something a little bit smaller, and sometimes even placemats. I have found some pretty neat looking placemats at Dollar Tree that could totally be transformed into a picture to put in a frame. And if you are looking for something specific, Etsy is a great place to check for different types of prints, and you can also buy those, download them, and print them just pretty much the same way I've printed this one. I have been wanting to do for a while, and I just recently bought some new cartridge for my printer, so I thought it was a good time to do it. If you don't have a printer, you can also send it away to get printed. I honestly don't know where I could send mine to get printed in town, because Costco had gotten rid of their photo development center, maybe you can still send it to them. They just don't have it in store. I would have to really look into it. But the size that I was looking for, it was perfectly fine to print it on my printer. So now I'm wiping the paint kind of off and dabbing it on, trying to get into all the crevices. There is a bit of a design on the inside edge, so I wanted to really have that stand out, so that way it has that vintage look. It is an absolutely gorgeous day outside, and I really wanted to do this voiceover out here, but I think every plane has decided to fly over during my voiceover now. So I'm going to try it a little bit more, and if they keep coming, I'm going to have to go inside and do this voiceover. So here it is. I'm just dabbing the paint now just to give it that aged vintage look. And once the picture dries and the frame dries, I'm going to put it together. I have decided to style it in my kitchen to break up some of that white that's my backsplash in the kitchen. I love my backsplash, but sometimes with the counter being white and the backsplash being white, I'm always looking for ways to add color and texture into the space. And here it is. Here it's how it looks. I absolutely love it. It is exactly what I was going for, and the nice thing is at such an inexpensive price, I can definitely redo it for every season. Look. Now moving on to the last DIY. I love using books, decorative books, to decorate either on floating shelves or in my hutch or on top of the coffee table, fireplace, and whatnot. So I had seen this stack of books, and the price is per book. And as you can see, it is $69, which is not overly budget breaking or whatnot, but I do feel that I can make it for almost free. So I just picked out a book from my book stack. I wanted it to have a hardcover, and I think this one would work really good. I originally wanted to make a couple of them just to give couple different sizes look, but I realized once I started doing gathering my supplies for this DIY that I only had scrap pieces of this drop cloth. I for some reason thought I had a full pack of it. But nevertheless, you can make as many as you want. I'm just going to show you how I made this one, and the process would be exactly the same for all the rest of the books that you would want to make. So like I said, you want to pick a hardcover book. I just think that would be easier to work with, preferably something that's not as bright colored as this, because a little bit was showing. And you could also paint the cover in case if you only have the bright colored books. And then to create that design on here, I am adding a good amount of hot glue and just little strips of it, but you want it to be fairly thick. And you want this to completely dry before you move on to the next step, because you don't want to squish it. I did mine about inch apart, and then once they were dry, I added Mod Podge in the middle, in between. And then I'm also going to add Mod Podge on top and bottom. And when I'm applying my drop cloth, now this is a linen drop cloth that I picked up at Dollarama. I have used this for many DIYs, from pillowcases to table placemats, all sorts of stuff. Even a tablecloth I've made with it. I just absolutely love this drop cloth and how versatile it is. If you cannot find any at your local dollar store, Home Depot carries it as well. It's a lot bigger pack, and at this point it might even be cheaper than at Dollarama what I was paying for it, because once you calculate the size of the roll. So when you are attaching this, you want it to be very tight, so there's no like loose pieces. It's not curling up anywhere. You want it to go very tight over top of this, so that way it can show all the little designs on it. So once I felt like it wasn't moving as much, I ended up adding some Mod Podge over top of it as well. And then once I finished on the top, I went ahead and added some onto the front cover and the back cover. And to keep the linen in place while the Mod Podge is curing, I did give it a little a couple dots of hot glue on the inside and folded the linen into it. I actually end up using the hot glue for all the folds, just to make sure that it stays in place. Also going to clip it just to make sure it stays in place. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And once it was all done, I did go ahead and add some Mod Podge on top of it as well. And then, like I mentioned, for the folds, I'm going to be hot gluing them. But here I'm just showing you how nicely the design is showing up. And I'm sure most of you know, I don't know if people did this here as well, but I grew up in Europe. I moved to Canada when I was 16. And when we used to go to school, we used to have to, even in grade, like from 1 to 8, even in high school, we used to have to purchase all of our books, like the math book, the science book, all those books. And in order, because they had to last me a whole year, and the covers weren't hardcover or anything like that, so we used to get some either butcher paper or wrapping paper or just a really nice paper or even newspaper and wrap the books in it to protect the covers. So this is what this had reminded me of doing, is wrapping our textbooks for school. So if you ever wrapped a book, you just do exactly the same thing that you would have done when you were wrapping the book. I think this is going to be such a great addition to my decorating. I'm thinking I might use it on a floating shelf just to lift some decor up, and it will add also a really nice look to it. Well, guys, let me know what you think. I think this turned out really nice. Again, like I said, I absolutely love the way it looks. I think it's going to be such a great addition to my decor. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you all in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. For my next project, I'm going to be making over these 2 vases. These actually belong to my mother-in-law, who has thrifted with the intention of getting me to make them over. I had finally gotten her to pick out what she wants to get done with them. So I'm going to give them a base coat just to have an even starting point, and I'm doing this the fastest way, which is spray painting it with this satin black spray paint. And here they are spray painted, that way I don't have any of those lines showing through. Then once inside and when completely dry, I mixed up some of that black acrylic paint with some flour just to get a lot thicker texture, because we are going to be trying to recreate this look from Pottery Barn. It is this Cortland vase from Cortland Vase Collection. As you can see, it has a little pattern on it, and she really liked that pattern on this vase. So I'm going to try and create that with some luck. And she couldn't remember exactly how much she had paid for her vases. She believes it was $15 for both, and as you can see, regular price these are range from 112 to 141, but on sale is 78 to $99. So quite a bit of savings for her, $15, and then a little bit of paint that I have used. So like I said, I'm going to mix the black paint with the flower, so that way I can create that design that she is looking for. So one of the reasons why I have decided to spray paint that as well was because once I'm going to be creating the design, which I will be doing it with a pencil. You can do it with a chopstick, or one of those skewer sticks, or any thin object that can give you nice thin lines. I just had a pen on hand, so I am using that. But that way, when you are doing the lines underneath, it's not showing the original color. It is going to be that black base color that I spray painted on. I was working in sections because I was worried that if I paint the whole thing all at once and go with a pen, that the first section would dry out on me. So here are the lines. I think that is looking pretty good. So I'm going to continue the same process for the rest of the vase, working in sections. So I am just finishing this here, and I will be doing the other one as well, the taller one, but I'm not going to bore you with the same process because it's exactly the same, but this way you can see how I did it for both of them. I think they turned out beautiful. Here they are all dried. She absolutely loved them. She loved the fact that they had so much character versus just a simple paint job. I paired them with some Timu branches, and I think they are going to be great on her fireplace for her fall decor, since I had inspired her to decorate her home. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Sonja, and today I'm super excited to be bringing you a video that I have been trying to make for a while. I just needed a lot of time because I knew it was going to take a lot of time to get this done. So we are going to be making some paper mache bowls, two different types of bowls. One, I'm going to use a mold type of thing, and the other one, I'm going to mold an existing bowl that I have. And the type of paper mache that I'm going to be using is equal parts of water and glue to toilet paper. I went out and bought loads of toilet paper. I did only end up using 4 rolls altogether for the 2 projects, and I had a little bit left over. But this was very simple to do. Pretty much everything was on hand. I have a big jug of school glue from my daycare, so I was able to use that, and then water and obviously toilet paper. And I just bought the cheapest toilet paper at the supermarket. So you want to mix all of this together and to create almost like a clay type of consistency. And you don't want it to be too wet. If it's too wet, you might want to drain some of the water off. I also want to mention that today's video is in collaboration with one of my best friends here on YouTube as well as in real life. Sandra, she just lives a couple streets over from me. We used to live on the same street, and her channel is DIYs at the Schwarman's Nest. If you have not checked out Sandra's channel, make sure you do so. She is super talented and truly an inspiration to me when it comes to all things DIY. She is someone that I can always count on and figuring things out with me if I need an advice on DIYs or really anything else in life. So make sure you check her out. I will leave a link to her channel down below, so you can check out this video as well as any other video that you might be interested in checking out. Make sure you check out her shorts as well, because they are really, really good. So me and her were talking about how we wanted to try out some of these paper mache projects that you see all over the high-end stores, and they're quite pricey. You can even buy some off of Etsy, and but I just thought that I could definitely make this out myself for a lot cheaper. So here are some of my inspirations that I'm going to be trying to recreate. And like I said, I'm using toilet paper, glue, and water. I think Sandra might be using a different type of paper mache materials, so make sure you check out her channel. Like I said, her channel will be linked down below. That way you can get a couple different ideas on a couple different things you can use to create our projects. So for my paper mache, like I said, I'm using toilet paper and glue and water, and you just want to kind of get that clayish consistency. You want it to be wet, but not like dripping wet. The toilet paper does dissolve quite quickly, so you will be able to see how much of it you actually need. And keep mixing it until you reach that paste consistency. For my first project, I'm using this bowl to create a mold, and I'm going to add some clear cling wrap onto it, but I did have to use a little bit of tape just to keep it in place, because I did find that it was moving for me a little bit too much. So I guess you could probably use parchment paper too, but I'm pretty sure you would have to tape that up as well. And this did give it a little bit of more of a smoother finish on the inside. I do want to mention that if you are planning on doing this project, give yourself at least week and a half for it to cure. Mine took about for this bowl, it took about a week. For the other one, because there were 2 steps to it, it took a week and a half, and I did end up having to put it in the oven to cure as well for about 40 minutes while it was running at 200 degrees, and then I let it just sit in it until it was until I was ready to use it. I turned off the oven, so it sat in a warm oven for a couple hours. Now, when I'm creating this bowl, I wanted one side to be a little bit longer or taller, and the other side to be a little bit shallower. So that's why you have 2 different sides. And you can, don't worry about being perfect on the edges, because you can always cut them down, sand them down a little bit to the size that you need it, or to have it as clean cut as you want it. So here is what mine look like all finished, and you just want to cover all the spots so you don't have any holes. And now it's time to dry. So while that's drying, I'm going to be working on this bowl. I've had this bowl for a very long time. It kind of got damaged over the years, so I'm just giving it a good cleanup, and I'm going to cover it up with the paper mache. I'm not creating a mold, so I don't need to put any cling wrap onto it. I'm just going to start adding paper mache, spreading it out, and making sure that, especially on the inside, all the areas are covered. You kind of want to make sure all the there's no holes in it, whether it's on the inside or the outside. And if you want to smooth it out a little bit more, you can always wet your hands and go over it with a wet hand more. I was okay with having it look a little rougher because I was adding some antiquing wax to it, so I wanted to bring out the roughness out a little bit more with the antiquing wax. I did work on the inside and the top first, then I let that dry, and like I said, it took about, I waited for about a week and a day, and it was still a little wet on the inside, but I was able to flip it over because the top was dry, and then I worked on the bottom part of it, and that took a couple days. There was just a small amount of stuff that I had to add, and it took, like I said, 3 days in, it was still wet, so I did end up putting it into the oven at 200 degrees, and I let it cure for about 40 minutes, and then I turned the oven off and just left it in there for a couple hours until I was ready to add some antiquing wax to it. So this is what the other side looks like, and I'm working on covering that up. And I also have a couple spots left that need to be covered up as well, because it was kind of hard to flip it over without damaging the parts that I had covered before it got dry. So I'm just going to cover those up now. And I'm not gonna lie, this DIY was very, very relaxing to me to make. I quite enjoyed just molding it and working smoothing out all the areas, and it's just, I found it very, very relaxing. And here it is all done, and now I'm going to let that cure for a couple days. And while that's curing, this one had cured and it's dry, so I'm just going to cut off some of the parts that are kind of sticking out. I still want to keep the roughness on it. You can even smooth it out by sanding it a little bit if you want more of a smoother look. I'm going to add some paint, very watered down paint, because my paint was dry. So I just added some water to it to loosen it up, and it's just a light beige color. This part can be up to you how you want to paint it, or even add some wax to it. Really, you can go gray, make it look more a little bit like concrete. Totally up to you. I'm going to go with more of a antique look by adding, like I said, some of this beige, and then I'm going to go in with a little bit of dark wax just to add a little bit of character to it. So I was trying to cover up as much of that white because I really didn't want too much of it showing. So I did use, as you saw, a brush as well as a sponge just to blend everything in and get into all the little crevices. I am so happy with the way this piece turned out. It's so unique and one of a kind, and I can't wait to use it in my decor. I think it's gonna look really good with some little fillers in there, maybe a little bit of potpourri, or even a nice candle to sit on it as a base or a cover for the candle, as a tray, I guess. For the bowl, I have decided just to use the wax, the Annie Sloan dark wax or antiquing wax, and I did go with a brush first, and then I do move on to the sponge as well, and I am applying lots at the beginning and then just trying to spread that all out. And then I'm going to go with a sponge and just accent a little areas where there's like a clumping of the paper mache, just to make that pop out a little bit more. I did end up using this wider brush. I just think it made the job go a little bit faster. And I think the bristle brush, a little chippy brush, would work well as well. So the inside is almost done, a little bit more blending, and now I'm going to do the outside. I really do love the way this was shaping out, and like I said, you can do this any way you want. You can leave it just white, you can paint it one solid color, you can use a couple different colors and blend to make it more like a concrete look. The world is your oyster how you want this to turn out. I went with more of this look because it kind of goes well with my current decor. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed these quick and easy paper mache DIYs. Make sure you check out Sandra's channel because she will have even more to share with you, so that way you can get tons of inspiration for your next DIY project. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please, I would love it if you consider subscribing, becoming part of my YouTube family. I share tons of high-end dupes here, as well as furniture makeovers and some Dollar Tree DIYs, so I hope you find something that you enjoy. And here is how this looks, and I think I'm going to keep it on my coffee table in my family room. I'm not sure if I'm going to add anything to it because I just love it as it is. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. And again, don't forget to check out Sandra's channel, and I will see you all in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all so much.